Awesome sauce. Well, everybody, welcome to the Home is Where the Heart is free virtual buyer seminar with the Pinder Group. Um, let's start off with introductions. We have Miss Justine Conte, Monica Irwin Williams, and I never say that name. I never say all of those names. And Mr. Timothy Murphy, our lender on site tonight. So we will get to making sure Tim can share some information with you guys as we go through the process of what this all entails when it comes to buying a home in the Maryland and the DC area. We do not speak of Virginia just yet because we are working on licenses, so we don't want to infringe upon anyone that would believe that we can operate in Virginia at this moment. So I am Lisa Pinder. Tonight, we're just going to go over the understanding of home ownership and what that means in today's world, what the financing and lending insights are. We were talking before you guys got on board about the different things that we're hearing in the news, we're seeing on the market, and how that affects what you guys want in the year 2026. And of course, we are new construction partners, the Pinder Group. We believe in not just saying you have to buy a resale. We do go and look for those new construction opportunities, and we'll give you an opportunity to understand how that fully works for you. And of course, there'll be a Q&A section. So to get started, why does home ownership matter? Oh my God. I heard someone say recently that their big thing was the rent doesn't change. If it's not your insurance and your taxes, it's the same mortgage over and over and over again, and you can build stability with that. So that is one of the things that I'm a big fan of, and I know a lot of my clients have spoken to that as well. And of course, it's about gaining wealth, building a portfolio, something that some people never thought they could have ever done in ever. So now it is an opportunity to get started with just a small house. Just a little small house would change your world and your portfolio packages. And being able to create something that's yours. Everybody knows the rule that you can't paint. When you paint in an apartment, you got to put it right back the way you found it. You really can't get comfortable because you just don't know if that's going to be your forever. And most times when you do purchase a home, you get a little bit more comfortable. You paint a couple more walls, you put up a couple more things, and really, really plant yourself in the community. And that's the biggest thing about owning a home is becoming a part of that community, using the grocery stores, the gas stations, the libraries, the banks, all the things are right there for you to become a part of that existence. So it's the cool part of being a homeowner. Um, Everybody asks me, is this a great time to buy a house? It's up to you. It's up to what's going on in your world, what makes sense in your world. If you're tired of renting, if you figure that this is really the time for you to step out and make that change, then most definitely this is the right time for you. We can't predicate what goes on in your world and what makes you push forward to do this, but that's why we're here to help and guide you through the process as best as we know how. Miss Justine.
So when we talk about budget versus approval, most of the time when you talk to the lender, your first question you usually ask is, how much home can I get approved for? But sometimes you need to ask the question is not really ask the question, but you want to tell them how much you really want to pay monthly versus how much you can get approved for, because sometimes those don't equal the same thing. Because the lender is looking at your number on the paper to your debt to ratio. They have no idea what your lifestyle is. They don't know if you got child care costs, travel habits, the family support, your way of living. They can't put all that numbers onto your sheet because they're looking at your budget to your debt to income. I'm not sorry, debt to ratio, and that's your DTI. So sometimes you have to sit back and think about how much you want to pay monthly versus how much you're approved for, because we don't want you to get stuck in a situation that now you're stressed because the mortgage is too high. That is not our plan to get you into something that's not affordable. So it's up to you to decide on where you're comfortable with. So those numbers can be quite different. So, and then when you come down to your down payment, it's flexible because sometimes you see that they say 20% down. That's not true. You have the 3%, the 3.5, the 5%. And that's something that you would talk over with your lender, because it is very important to know what happens when you put down a small amount versus a larger amount, because sometimes that comes into play on, your interest rates and all, I mean, not your interest on your principal and your loan, because those numbers will be higher if you're putting down a lower amount versus if you put down a larger amount, because sometimes you don't have that mortgage insurance. So sometimes we have to talk to the lender about what do we, how to plan this out and plan it out very smartly on what your budget is. So what the lender gives you, he's telling you what the numbers say on paper, but you know what you're comfortable with paying. So the lender will definitely go over your numbers with you, and you really want to get those numbers situated before you go out and go shopping, because we don't want you to get caught up in going shopping for homes and then realize that these homes are way more than you want to pay for them. So we like to start out with the lender and get your pre-approval first, so we know what you're comfortable with, so we know what we're shopping for. So the ball is always in your court. You're never pressured to take whatever. If they allow you to go to 700,000, if you're not comfortable paying that amount, I mean, that's your choice. You have to pick where you want your monthly budget to be. So with that,
Go to the next slide.
Yes.
We get to, when we speak about dollars, we get to talk to this amazing professional, Mr. Tim Murphy, who has been a partner with us for a number of years and has helped us secure multiple purchases with our clients in many creative ways. So Tim Murphy from Annie Mac Mortgage, his contact information is listed here. And Tim is here to tell you a little bit more about the financing side, where we don't like to step into it.
And and I have to agree with what's said already. A lot of times lenders push you into products that don't make sense, or realistically don't offer you all of the amazing products that are out there. And that's something that Lisa and I and Monica and Justine, we always talk about, getting the ability to tap into some of the, what I call free money, or down payment assistance, some of the different grants that are out there. And we've pointed out a lot of them. I mean, from the Prince George's counties, $50,000 pathways to home ownership, which I know Lisa promotes dramatically in the marketplace, because let's face it, who can't use 50 grand towards the purchase of a home, versus using like the Maryland mortgage program, et cetera. And a lot of people make the mistake thinking that affordability comes down to just the mortgage payment. And I think this is something that we've always stressed, which is sometimes we look at things from a different perspective, thinking that maybe instead of putting money down on a house, we do secure the 100% financing, and then we pay off all of our debt. We'd be debt free, right, from an affordability standpoint. Because the one thing about a mortgage is typically stable, which means it stays relatively the same for the next 30 years. Rents, on the other hand, have a tendency to go up. And that's the catch-22, is that, if you put a boatload of money down, you've kind of trapped your soldiers into the house, versus when you put less money down, but pay off all of your debt, you're in a much better position. And that means having money for reserves, money to fall back, money to do improvements on the house, et cetera. And then at the same time, we look at it from the standpoint of taking advantage of what's available especially for first-time home buyers. Because, at the end of the day, once you've owned the home, you're not a first-time home buyer anymore. So whenever you talk to a lender, you want to find out what kind of down payment assistance programs are available, what they might be eligible for. But first and foremost, as Justine said, and I know Monica will point out as well, is that we want to make sure your credit is there as well, because your credit's the key. And we want to make sure that whoever you're dealing with, you're not getting into a situation where you've got to pay a credit repair company, $300, $400, $500 to quote unquote fix your credit. A lot of times just being responsible. So you've got those kind of factors involved, which I think are important. And then the other side of the coin is, and we've always pointed this out as well, you want to make sure that when you get your pre-approval, that they've actually run it through some kind of underwriting system. They've looked at your income, they looked at your assets, they looked at your liabilities, and you really do qualify for the home, versus sometimes people will do pre-qualifications, and unfortunately, they really haven't put you through the initial process. So it's extremely important that when you're talking to the lender, making sure they have the products available, making sure they're doing a soft pull credit report, making sure they're sharing that credit report with you, making sure they're helping you with the credit repair, and then ultimately that you're taking advantage of all the down payment assistance programs. And that's why I love the Pinder group, because they're so focused on getting you into the home, whether it's new construction and being able to get $25,000 or $30,000. For some of these builders, they're providing amazing packages, and I know Lisa can point that out. It is wild what's going on right now, even to resales where, let's face it, sellers are willing to, provide a lot of down payment assistance. So guys, grants, down payments, etc. You also want to ask about, of course, the USDA 100% financing, and that's an area that Lisa is very good at, and she's pointed out. In fact, we talked about a home in Accokeek that was 100% financing, and it's USDA, which means no money down, which is kind of wild. And in fact, the house appraises for more, you can actually put some down payment assistance, or you can actually finance closing costs, things of that nature. So there's a lot of options out there, and I don't want to steal all the thunder tonight. I just want to kind of give you some highlights. Lisa, I'll point it back to you.
No, one more credit myths debunk.
And this is something we've always talked about. Everybody thinks you need to have perfect scores. You got to have 800 credit scores. You've got to be out there. You're not going to be able to get down payment assistance. Well, we know that even if you're in the 500s, you can get financing, which is kind of wild. Of course, when you're below 580, you're going to need to be able to put down 10%. But when you're above a 580, honestly, 3.5% on an FHA loan. Once you hit 600, you begin to take advantage of the down payment assistance programs that are out there. Higher the score, of course, the better the program, the better your interest rate, et cetera. And the biggest mistake I always tell people is they think, oh, I got to save money up, got to have 20% down. And Lisa, I'm not sure I remember the last client that had 20% to put down on on their house.
It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a long minute. Maybe 5 years. It's crazy because nobody has that kind of money. They just don't. Look, it's hard enough as it is to pay for groceries than it is to save 20% down. And and the one thing I tell people, we talk about mistakes people make all the time. Please, don't go out and get new cars. Don't open up new accounts. Be very careful. This is a crazy one with like Affirm and Klarna. We are having a number of clients that are using these short-term debts, and they're thinking that they don't count. And the lender will tell you, oh, it doesn't matter. It's short-term. It has significant impact. So don't open up new debts. Keep your payments on time. But before you make any changes, call the lender. Let us help you out.
Yes. Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you, Tim.
Yep.
One of our things is in preparation and having conversations with you, we are able, because Tim is an actual physical person, we are able to go and sit in his office and have a meeting amongst all of us, the client, the lender, and the realtor, so we can get on one page and everyone can work together to work things out for the buyer for the best. But I mean, it's good that you lay it all out on the line. You can walk through the process in person. So I know everybody loves a good Navy Federal and the big banks, but sometimes that personal touch matters. Being able to have a lender that has street cred in the area that you're shopping is a wonderful thing. So being able to sit down and do a plan with Tim is something that we've all been afforded the ability to do. And that's just something I think is important, especially when you have a ton of questions and you don't feel comfortable asking sometimes when you're just in a queue. So it's good to have someone in person. The reason why we work with Tim, it's important that we work with the lender. Tim is not the only lender we know. We know plenty of lenders, but our rapport and our relationship has been developed over years. So I know how he works. He knows how I work. He knows Monica. He knows Justine. And follow-up is important. When you're in the midst of a contract, we want to be able to find people. That's a hard thing sometimes, being able to find people when we need answers to things. So our relationship with him is very solid. Our title person as well is just another key to this component, that everyone talks and we're always in communication about what's happening during the process. Because if something's going on, I want him to be able to call me, tell me what's happening so we can iron out any wrinkles before it gets too late. I do not appreciate settlement day coming and we're standing around together and no one knows anything. That is the most uncomfortable position to be put in ever. We want to know days in advance what time closing is, what we need to bring, what dollar amounts matter. We would love to have that information days in advance, as opposed to sitting at a table and being told, go home. This is not your day. That is the most I've experienced that. So that is something I do not want my clients to experience. So the communication is key for us. So it's always a pleasure to be able to work with others in the industry that respect communication and transparent conversations. We won't throw names out there, but transparent conversations are very big for us. Step by step, the home buying process. Like Tim said, you want to get pre-approved first. I don't want to take you to a house that will set you up for a dream that you can't touch. We want to make sure that we're on the same page, even though you may have an amazing, healthy salary. We want to make sure that you're comfortable. So my first question usually to buyers is, what do you want to do on a monthly basis? I don't ask the sales price because the monthly basis gives me a gist of where you should be financially in the number of the house, the price point, and a location. That's another important piece because every dollar does not spend the same in different areas, different cities, different counties. It's a big disparity from Prince George's County and you jumping across the bridge to Old Town Alexandria. It's a huge difference in what you can get and what you can afford and what you're really truly happy with. The next part, we're going to set up search criteria. We use a system called the Bright MLS system. We set up a search criteria. I personally do a concierge. That means I look through the houses and I pluck out what I think based on conversations with clients, what they really truly want in a home. Because sometimes some junk can get filtered in there and we don't want you to see all of the foolishness and you don't think we actually listening to you. So submitting offers and being able to negotiate. I tell my selling clients that are selling their homes, you want me to be a strong negotiator. Because if you come to me and say, oh, can you do it for a little bit less? The speed that I give up your money is probably the speed I'll give up your money when it comes to negotiating a contract with others and how we work. So you want me to be a pit bull when it comes to negotiating for you and going after things. I'm a very reasonable person. I do believe in meeting in the middle, but I do believe that everybody should get something and make themselves happy. So negotiating with agents, and that this will tell you a lot about the real estate world. We're friends with agents at all different spectrums of broker. We know people at KW, we know people at Samson, we know people everywhere. Remax, Century 21, we have friends everywhere. So when those friends see our name, they are pretty excited to work with us because we have amazing relationships. The next piece is inspectors. Getting an inspector and getting an appraisal. Two totally different things. An inspection is for you to make sure that the house is safe, everything has been done properly, and if there are any small or big flaws, we want to address them right away. And we want to make sure you're comfortable with your moving into the house. Now, the appraisal, that comes from Tim's end. He'll send out an appraisal, an unbiased party to make sure the value of the house is met. A lot of people sometimes get the two confused as to what the inspection does and what the appraisal does. The appraisal is all about the value of the home and if it matches what's going on in the neighborhood. And if we've pulled comps and we've looked at the inventory and we've kind of advised you in your offering, we're paying attention to that number as well. We don't have what the appraisal, we can't predicate what the appraiser is going to say, but we can get a pretty good gist on where that number should fall. And of course, the fun part, we get to go to closing day. We have moving boxes. We have bows for the door. We have your own personal keychain. We have all the fun stuff. I even have a helium tank, people. I like balloons and stuff. It's getting crazy over here because clearly I have nothing else to do with my life. So that is how closing day comes about. And that is always an exciting time. But like I said, we want to make sure that we know everything beforehand. You know what the utilities are. We try to find out what day the mailman comes. Not the mailman, I'm sorry. The trash man comes. We try to make sure we know where the mail key box is. Those are all the things you're going to be worried about. So we try to get all of that information in advance so you can securely move into your house and really kind of get an idea of what your neighborhood offers. How do we win in today's market? It's all about strategy. I know everybody wants to zoom, 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 go, but once again, figuring out where your money is, figuring out where you want to live, and being very strategic in our offerings. I know people say, oh my God, the house has been on the market for 60 days. We should lowball them. Sometimes that's not the case. That's not a reason to lowball. And sometimes it's insulting. And sometimes people will put an offer out and they'll think, oh, well, they're gonna respond back to me. And sometimes people get offended. They don't say anything back to you. So sometimes being very strategic in your offerings and what you put on the list price and what you ask in closing, does it really equate to your true love of the home? Because someone told me the other week, I love this home, and they went 30,000 below. I was like, I don't think you like this house that much. So it kind of came out in the offer, and the owner was like, no, we need you to come up on that. So and then like we said, guiding you guys through the process of how to offer, what we think is smart, what we think is strategic. We're not here to say, oh, put all the money at it. But we're telling you something. It's not just because we're telling you. We truly are trying to be strategic in your offerings. And back to our relationship with Tim, we know what's a comfortable number for you to offer when it comes to closing, what you need for down payment. So we're cognizant of that as well. And yes, with the new NAR rules, our fee as buyer's agents is usually the responsibility of the buyer unless we can negotiate it with the seller. Everything is negotiable. So if you sign a piece of paper and it says someone gets a certain percentage, have the expectation that if we cannot get it from the seller, it is the expectation that you are responsible. New construction. We do a lot of damage in this arena. We work with a ton of builders. Dare I say 75% of my clients are in new construction, and I do resell with them and work that community again and again and again. The builder incentives, like Tim said, are out of control right now. They are absolutely crazy. We're talking washers and dryers. We're talking almost all of the closing help, buy down rates. You name it, they're doing it. They're trying to get people in the door. So when it comes to the resale community, that's who they are in competition with. So they have to do as much as the resale community to get you guys in the door. And yes, a new house is very exciting. It is a little bit more costly than a resale. Please don't misunderstand that as well. It does cost a little bit more, hence why the builders give you a little bit more money than what the average person would do. So it depends on your budget, what you can afford, what makes sense to you. Yes, sometimes there is less competition, but sometimes when the market is hot, the builders do not know you anymore. They will drop all those special incentives, but right now they love y'all. They want to date you real bad. So one of the things that I'm just a big fan of is being able to go in and dream that. Tim also works with one of our custom builders, Wilkerson Homes, and we have a couple of clients down that way that are building from scratch, and Tim helps facilitate that. So he has a foot in that arena as well. Why you need representation? The builder sales reps are very nice people. They don't work for you. They work for the builder. Everything is in protection of the builder. So you want to make sure someone is there to help facilitate and make sure that the things you're signing, the things you're agreeing to are what are truly, truly, it's a big thing. So you start giving up dollars, you want to make sure you know where your dollars are and how you can get things back if that needs to happen. And you definitely want someone in your corner. I cannot speak for all agents. I can only speak with the ones that I am linked with. I haven't, like I said, I have great relationships with agents all across the board, but these two young women are awesome, amazing, and care for clients. And that's what we're all about here at the Pinder Group. We do establish relationships. I think probably about 8 or 9 years. with particular builders in this area. And I do jump across and run here and run there with my sales rep, just to make sure that if they need anything and they have something new, we know all about it. We get special emails, and I know people say that, but we truly do. We really get special emails to say, hey, this is what's going on. And it's a great way for me to be able to say, hey, what's going on? How can I, is my client okay? Making sure follow-up game is important. A lot of people say, oh, they just give you new construction. They'll just drop you off and they'll never see you again. That is not what we do here. We go to walkthroughs, we go to inspection appointments, and we show up at closing. I did hear an agent one day say, we don't go to closing. I was like, no, going to closing. That's the fun part. That's the party. We get to pop bottles. I don't drink, but we can pop bottles anyway. So what happens next? Well, you do a buyer consultation. We find out all the things that are important to you, what you hope to achieve with home ownership, whether it be a townhouse, condo, investment property, your first home, your second home, your fifth home. That's what we're here for. Making sure that we understand the things that you need. Is there money, like Tim mentioned, with the down payment assistance programs? Is there a fund that you have that you can draw from that will help you with this? Have you been saving up? Did we do the credit part? Is there some help that anyone may need in this facet? Sometimes money and credit is not the only thing. It's just sometimes a guiding hand to make sure you're comfortable through the whole process. Yes, we do construction tours because we know where all the neighborhoods are because we're just nosy like that. If you've seen any of our videos, you see we pop up in all kinds of communities. We stand on mounds of dirt because we're just nosy and we're like, "Ooh, what's happening over here? They're building houses. We got to get more information." So that's just what we do. But we have reached the question and answer segment. Any question, please feel free.
Also, when you're thinking about that if you're not ready to buy till next year or a year out, it's still not too early to start because it's better to be really prepared before you get to walking out there to look around. Because even if you tell Tim you're ready, you're going to be ready in a year. All these steps can be set up before we get to even walking out the door. So it's going to be like, oh, I just got to sign papers because I have everything in order. Mm-hmm. So we've already crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's. So we have nothing to worry about. It's no such thing as starting too early. And some people think that they're not ready until Tim look into their things. They'd be like, oh, I was ready before I thought I was going to be ready. So once you have that sit down conversation, then you can find out where you actually are in this process. And there's no guessing game. Yeah. So you want to have that sit down and start on that right track first. Do not jump out there until you're ready. So back to question and answers.
Monica, do you have anything for us before we jump into question and answer?
I don't. Only thing I'd like to say though, for people I've dealt with, clients, customers, and just friends, period. Like you said, never doubt yourself. You may think you're not ready. You probably are. If you can afford rent and you can get into an apartment or a rental home, you can get into a home. And it's a matter of finding the right home for you that's affordable for you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if everyone has seen, but there have been an influx of rental communities that have been created. And most of them have been new construction townhomes. Mm-hmm. And to see the numbers that they are charging, and it's outrageous. We passed Brandywine the other day, and a 2-bedroom townhouse was starting at $3,100.
Yep.
We've seen rates lower. So I literally, if you can't, don't stay in a lease. Please don't.
And if you were going to rent a townhouse at that price, you would have to come up with the security, the first month's rent. And by the time you come up with all that money, that would have been enough for you to close on a house. You could have closed on your own townhouse. Especially if you get some of these grants and all that, you can come down lower than that.
Well, I explained it to a client the other day. She was looking at a house that was $300,000. And worst case scenario, 6.5% to was it 6.5 or 7%? Tim helped me with the numbers because I'm just spouting at this point, I think. But to literally with the FHA loan, we're looking at maybe about 20,000. And if M&P is to jump in, we're talking about 14, almost 15,000.
Yep.
So that's another 5,000 left. And if she's already prepared to pay 2,500 a month in rent, that's 25 times 2 because you need your security deposit and your first month. That's $5,000. We just bridged the gap on how you can purchase a home.
And it is amazing what, Lisa and her team do, because they're going to look at the down payment assistance. They're going to look at the programs that are out there, where they're going to try to match it up with closing help. And a lot of times when we get a closing, your clients are actually getting back refunds of their earnest money deposit. And they're like, you mean it is so much more cheaper for me to be able to own a home? You have tax benefits down the road, build long-term wealth and equity, and a lot of times get money back at closing. It's wild. It really is.
And he's not spouting crazy. And I will tell you for sure, I am a recipient of a check at the closing table. I live in a USDA community. For those of you who know me and see me on YouTube all the time, and all I talk about is Accokeek, Accokeek, Accokeek. I know y'all tired of me. I don't know why my captions don't know how to spell Accokeek yet, but we did the same. We walked into an amazing scenario where the builder was paying all the closing help. So that's the seller taking care of all the closing. We qualified for the USDA loan program. So the down payment was taken care of. So the deposit that we left, good money, earnest money deposit, the good faith deposit that says, I am so serious about this house that I am willing to put money on the line. So you know that I'm here. I ain't gonna flake off. I ain't gonna run off because I want my money back. When we put that money down, we got almost 90% of that money back in our pockets at the table. And we ran to Target and bought the foolishness that we needed to start our new home. Because you got to go to Target first. You need trash cans and brooms and all kinds of craziness. So that is one of the ways that stacking these types of programs can benefit you to walk in with less out of pocket than anything a lot of people have ever seen. And I've seen it happen time and time again. And it's just a matter of just sharing information. You don't know anything that no one told you. So as long as we're telling you, and I know people say, oh, you're on TikTok, you're on this, you're on that. And you guys are just spouting, just trying to get clients. No, these are real things. Like I said, this is my own personal testimony. So I want you to understand, we are not just saying this just to see if somebody will hit us up. No, we're telling you what we truly know and understand. And after over 10 years in this business, I've seen a little bit of everything. And being able to help people is the highlight of my life. That's probably why I spend a lot of my money on closing gifts. Yeah, it's a lot. A lot of my money goes. My husband is still trying to figure out where all the money goes. He's like, what did you buy now? So yes, we do have bows. We have cutting boards, mats, keys, all the things. It's just craziness. But we appreciate everyone taking their time and their energy for joining us. If you have any further questions, Miss Princess, me and you talk all the time. So you good, girl. But if you can text me if you need something. Please, Justine, Monica, reach out. Tim's information is in the slides. This will be on YouTube. So if you want to rewatch, we will have this video up there for you to get this information and take notes, slow it down. But once again, don't hesitate to reach out to one of the team members to really get this process going. We hope to do this once a quarter. So we'll be mixing up the buyers and the sellers, but we'll bring in the same information. It really won't change unless something is crazy going on in the market. And right now in this market, we are seeing a lot of favorable incentives for buyers in this market, in the resale and the new construction communities. So, any questions, Miss Belinda, Miss Princess?
No. Everything at this time. I talk to Lisa probably on a weekly basis. So she knows what I'm going to be working towards, and by this time next February, March, maybe I'll be in a new house.
That's
Oh.
right. Claim
All
it.
right.
Okay.
All right. Well, you guys having a phenomenal night. Stay warm out there. We will talk again soon.
See you later.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.